All right, guys, so now we're going into graphs, okay? So this question is asking you to select two answers that are correct. So I want to recognize a few things in the beginning. So our x-intercept is at -3 and our x-intercept is at 1, okay? Right here, okay? Our maximum right here is at 8, okay? And our feet are going down. So I want to recognize that because it's going to be very helpful, okay? So first question, choice of an answer is as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches positive infinity. So I want you to remember that as x approaches negative infinity or positive, that's just the end behavior. So that is, am I going to the left, because this is negative infinity, or am I going to the right, because this is the positive infinity, okay? So right, positive, left, negative. Where are my both feet going, which is your f of x, which is your function, which is your feet, okay? These are your feet. And they both always going to go in the same direction. So our feet are going down, okay? So that means both of this should go down. Now, is that what this infinity is? No. So this is not the correct answer. There's another question for the infinity that also has a positive, which is also not our question. It does not matter if we go to the right or we go to the left. Both infinities keep going down toward negative infinity, okay? So that's for that. Range and domain. So remember that range or domain are x-axis and y-axis. Domain represents x, and domain represents x, and range represents y, okay? So that's up and down, and that's left to right, okay? Now, remember the domain for quadratic functions, all real numbers, okay? Or infinity to infinity. So right here, as I am looking at my answers, D is correct because it's all real numbers. I go for negative infinity to infinity. Why? Because we are going, these legs are going to keep spreading to the right and left, okay? And there is no stopping. So that's why it is all real numbers, okay? Now, few other ones, it says range is negative infinity to 8. So remember that domain is it's read left to right, and the range is always read from the bottom, always from negative side. So we always reading it negative to positive, okay? Now, the range is read negative to positive. Now, we will always stop the range at the highest or the lowest point. So right here, our function ends at 8, okay? So coming from the bottom, we can only go as far as 8 goes. So our range will be negative infinity to 8, okay? Now, why is this question not correct, okay? Why is B not correct? Because with range and domain, or especially with range, the 0.8 is included inside that graph. It's a part of that graph. So the parenthesis here is wrong, and it's going to be very, very important. So this is not correct, okay? If the parenthesis was closed on the number 8, then this question would be, that answer B would be correct, okay? All right. Now moving on to decrease, increase. So once again, decrease and increase is based on axis of symmetry. So we are going to find axis of symmetry, which is the middle of the graph. And axis of symmetry looks like it's at -1, okay? So that means that if I put on the number line, I got -1 here. This is my axis of symmetry. That means that on the left side of the graph, I am traveling up. After axis of symmetry, I am traveling down. So once again, I am coming from negative infinity and I am going to a negative infinity. So where would be my increase? Increase would be right here. So increase would be from negative infinity to my axis of symmetry. So from negative infinity to my axis of symmetry. So right here, it's my increase, okay? After I hit axis of symmetry, the same point I start with is my decrease to infinity, okay? So this is decrease. So once again, from here to here, I am increasing. From here to here, I am decreasing, okay? I always read it left to right on x-axis. So here it says the function is decreasing over the interval of -1 and positive infinity. -1, positive infinity, it's going down. It is correct. -1, positive infinity, my function travels down. So this is also a correct statement, which assumes that f would be incorrect. Now let's talk about positive and negative numbers. Now, how do we get positive and negative numbers once again? That is going to be depend. So axis of symmetry is decrease, increase, and x-intercept is positive and negative. Okay, so once again, positive and negative. We are going to find my x-intercept. So that's -3 and 1. I'm going to make it right here, -3 and 1. Now, anything that is above x-axis, it's considered positive. And the other two ends are negative. So this piece is negative and this piece is negative because, again, it's below x-axis. So remember that this is x-axis, okay? And everything that's below, it's on it, okay? Now, if I want to put it on the number line, it's negative, positive, negative, okay? So again, we start at negative infinity and we end at positive infinity. So when I'm writing, I'm going to write three things. I'm going to write negative infinity. So right here to a 0.3, it's negative. After it hits 0.3, right here, it goes up. That's positive. So 3 all the way to 1. Okay? So from here to here, it's positive. Then after it hits 1 toward infinity, it's negative again. So again, you are going to have either positive, negative, positive, or negative, positive, negative, okay? Now, these are negatives right here, okay? So if it's asking you for a positive, that's the only one is between 3 and 1. So between these 2 points, my function is above 0. So this is not a true statement, okay? So it's only C and D that make sense. All right, so this is a real-world question. Okay. All right, guys, so question 16 is a real-life situation. So it's a path of a diver. It's modeling by the function, okay? F of x equals -9x squared plus 9x plus 1, where the y value, it's a height and in meters, and the x value is your horizontal distance in meters, okay? Now, it's asking you a few questions like, what is the height of the diving board? So I always want you to remember that in a real life situation, you're only going to look at the positive quadrant, right? So in this case, here is the graph. Okay, so again, we're only looking at a positive situation. So when you're drawing it, the board is going to be somewhere here, or the podium of the rocket or whatever, and it goes like this, right? So you only have few points that you need to pay attention to. It's always the y-intercept point, which is right here. What does the y-intercept point reflect? It reflects some kind of starting point, right? It could be at 0, or it could be at whatever point right here. Where is the board starting? The diving board. It will be right here. What is the height? Somewhere the highest point of the peak. Where does it land? Right here. How long has it been in the air? Right here for x-intercept, okay? So these are the points that you're going to be looking for. So again, the question is, what is the height of the diving board, okay? The height of the diving board will be your y-intercept. So let's look right here. Where does it start? At 1, okay? It starts at 1 meter, okay? It starts from here, and then it goes up, and then it comes down, okay? I want you to imagine it logically, okay? So at 1 meter, okay? What is the maximum height of the diver? Again, we're going to go back to our graph and we're going to look at the maximum point, the peak of the parabola. Again, which number represents height? Y value. This is time. 3.25 meters, okay? 3.25 meters is your answer. And how far from the diving board is the diver when he reaches the maximum height? Okay, so how far? Let's look again. Right here. How far is he as he reaches a maximum height? 0.5, right here, 0.5. Maximum height is right here. So if I'm looking at it this way, this is 0.5, 3.25. This is how high he is. This is how far he is. So again, this is 0.5 from the board, okay? So 0.5 meters, okay? All right. Now, the next question right here, again, another question. Let's put it in. If you are going to use t, I want to make sure that you are putting it in as f of t, because otherwise Desmos will not read it. F of t equals, the question is negative 16 t squared plus 32t plus 4. Okay, so now again, we're looking at a real life scenario right here. So if I'm looking, Maria kicks a soccer ball. This is a pathway of the soccer ball again. So again, it's going to start somewhere and then it's going to land. That's the ball, okay? It is asking you the height in the ball in feet, so that y-axis is feet, and the seconds is for x. Now it's asking you how long does it take the soccer ball to hit the ground. So again, what are we talking about? We're talking about the whole entire time right here, okay? So x-axis, it is what we look for. So let's look right here. This is when it hits the ground, okay? It hits the ground at 2.11, okay? 2.11 seconds, okay? So your answer is going to be A, okay? All right, question 19 says, give the graph of quadratic below. Which characteristic is not true? So false. Let's make sure we state that first. False, okay? So make sure we recognize that 3 is our intercepts and -1. Positive and negative. So remember that positive and negative, it's the ones that are above or below the graph. So these numbers right here are going to be positives, okay, plus and plus, and the ones in the middle now are going to be negative, okay? We move that to the side. This is negative, okay? So again, we're doing the number line, -1, 3, our intercepts, positive, negative, positive, okay? So it says the function is positive over, where is it positive? It's positive on the outsides. So negative infinity to -1 right here, and 3 to infinity. This is where I see positive. So let's check if our numbers check. Very good. This is true. We're looking for not true, okay? Next one, range, okay? Remember that range represents y value, and it goes from the bottom up. So since our parabola is upside, downside, we are going to look at this line right here at -4 when it starts. And where is it going? This way. The range is -4 to infinity, okay? Now, seems like this question would be correct, but it's not. Why is it not correct? Because once again, -4 belongs to that function. So -4 should have a close parentheses right here. So this is our correct answer, B, because it states that the parentheses are incorrect. But let's just make sure other ones match. So function is decreasing. So once again, remember decrease, increase, it's your axis of symmetry. So we're going to find the middle of the function, which is right here at 1. And on the left side of the function, I go down. On the right side of the function, I go up. Again, infinity to infinity. So decreasing would be right here. So again, negative infinity to axis of symmetry. And that is, let me see, not correct. Okay, so it looks like we might have, let me pause it for just a second to check. Oh, okay, so 2 of them are not correct. Okay, I got you. So 2 of them are not correct. Yes, both of them would not be correct, okay, because that would be an opposite. This is 1, so it's saying that it's decreasing here, okay? And then the axis of symmetry is positive, which is at 1 right here, which is correct answer. So B and C are not correct, okay? And this is correct, okay? All right, and now moving on to the next one. So this is a real life event. So once again, when you talk about real life event, you do not have infinities. You have numbers. So this one starts at 0 and it goes to, oops, what does it go to? It goes to 20, 1, 2, 3, so 23. So again, this is a real life event. 0 to 23 starts at 5, and the highest point will be somewhere here at 12, all right? And 10. So 10, 12, okay? So once again, it's very important to recognize these points. This is your highest point. It's 10 and 12 for Y value, okay? So it says the basketball, this is a basketball. So the basketball was shot toward a hoop, and then the path of the ball is shown below. Which students made a correct observation? So Alex says the maximum height of the ball is 14 feet. That is not correct. 14 feet would be somewhere here, okay? So Alex was wrong. Brooke said that the ball's path shows that it decreases the entire time. Also not correct, because it goes up first and then down, okay? So that is also not correct. Carlos said the domain of the ball pathway is 0 to 23 feet. So remember, domain represents X, and this is the area from the beginning of the graph to the end of the graph. And because this is a real life situation, we don't have infinities or negative numbers. This is a correct statement. It is from 0 to 23 feet, okay? And let's just check Diana. Diana, the range of the racket was 5 to 12 feet. That is not correct, because it says that the range was from here to here. That's not true. I still have a graph here. Even though it started at 5, the range should be 0 to 12. Okay, that's what a range should be. So the whole graph fits between 0 and 12 right here. Okay, 0 and 12 right here. Okay, so between these 2 points. So that's not correct. So Carlos was correct. And then the last question right here. All right, so this is again a real life event, whatever that event is. We start at 80. We go up to 144 for our height and time, and we end at 5. I want you to make sure you're recognizing these points, okay, for yourself. So domain, which is X value, goes left to right. It's from 0 to 5, okay? So 0 to 5, and they both include it because this is a real life event. 0 seconds and 5 seconds are all part of that story. Range, on the other hand, is up and down. Again, range doesn't go from 80 to 144. Range will go all the way from 0 all the way to the highest point. So from 0 to 144 for Y value, and also include it, because again, the graph is between these 2 points. You can't say where it starts at 80 because there is still a graph here, okay? And we need to make sure that we include that. Positive and negative, obviously this is a real life event, so we do not have negative numbers, and they all positive. Now, what is the numbers in between that it's positive? Again, 0 and 5, okay? Because again, it's an X value, and it goes from 0 all the way to 5, okay? Decreasing and increasing. So remember, the decrease increase is represented by an axis of symmetry. So again, this is a real life event. So we start from 0 to axis of symmetry, which is 2. Excuse me. So increase going up between 0 and 2. After 2, it has to, oops, other way around, sorry, I wrote in the wrong place. Increase 0 to 2. Now remember, it starts at 2 and continues to 5, okay? And it ends at 5. It doesn't go any further. Now, for end behavior, guys, this is left and right, but because we do not have infinities here, we are going to use the numbers, okay? So, since this is, again, a life event, we can only use values that we've seen. So for end behavior, we cannot go X toward the right, positive infinity, or X toward negative infinity. If we're going to go to the left, because this is left, this is right, we are going to go toward the 0, okay? Because that is a real life event. So we're going to say X is going toward the 0. And of course, when the X goes toward the 0, of course, we cannot say that our, what do you call it? Oops, sorry about that. That our function is going toward infinity. We are going to use a number. And that number is going to be 80 because again, as we're going toward the 0, what happens? Our function is stopping at 80, right? Because this is a real life event. So once again, normally we would say we're going toward negative infinity because the function is going down, but we are going to say the function is ending at 80 because this is how far it's going to go for our function in real situation. Now on the other side, if we're going to go toward the right, now we are not going toward positive infinity anymore. We are going toward the 5, okay? This is where the function ends. So here, when x approaches the 5, where is my function going? Okay, my function is going to go toward the 0, okay? So again, toward x-axis. So the function approaches here, but my x's are going toward the 5. The function will land at 0 at the neutral position of the ground, okay? Now the rate of change, of course, that is our slope. So once again, we're going to look right here. For our slope, we're going to find the interval. That means the area. So right here is between 0 and 2. So we are looking in here and 2. So between these 2 points. So again, we're going to find these points. So that's going to be your highest point, which is 2, 144. And then your starting point, which is 0, 80, okay, for that. Now, again, it doesn't matter which one you name x1 or x2 and y1 and so on, okay? So, again, we are going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So, we're going to do 144 minus 80 divided by 2 minus 0, okay? So, we are going to get 32. And that is your slope, okay? Now, once again, I am going to go over these very quick. Not going to go over the naming them or anything like that. But, all right, so I just want to mention this function right here is going down. This function's feet are going up. So, domain for a regular function, not a real life event. It's always all real numbers, negative infinity to positive infinity for both, always. Okay, negative infinity to positive infinity, because these legs are going to keep spreading left to right infinitely, okay? Now range, and remember, we always read everything left to right. Now range is up and down. That is your y-axis, okay? Now for range, we either going to start at the number and go up, or we're going to start in infinity go up. Because I want you to understand that function always is read from negative to positive. So from negativity to positivity, negative to positive, okay? So we go left to right, bottom up, okay? Having said that, in the first function, we are going to start at negative infinity and end at the point right here, which is 6, okay? Because again, we start at the bottom, we go up. So negative infinity to 6. And 6 is going to have a closed bracket. It's very important. 6 is a part of that graph. It's on it. On the other hand, right here, we are going to start at the point, which is negative 1. And then we're going to go up. So this function is going to start at negative 1. Okay? And then go up. Okay? All right, now let's do increase, decrease. Well, actually, we could do end behavior. So again, end behavior, the function always is going to go for the open function. It's always going to go right or left. So positive infinity, negative infinity. Okay. So here we got positive, here we got negative. So as I am approaching the right side, or as I am approaching let me see. Let me make it smaller because this is, okay. As x approaches the right side, positive infinity this way, my feet both are going to go up. So don't matter if I'm going to the left or I'm going to the right, my f of x, f for feet, I'm going to go up, okay? Now, on the other hand, right here, my feet go down. So it doesn't matter if I am going to the right side of the graph here, or if I'm going to the left side of the graph, both of my footsies, which is f of x stands for a function, will go down, which is negative infinity, okay? All right, now again, save that if you need to, because I'm going to delete that for space. All right, negative and let's do increase, decrease. Increase, decrease depends on of your axis of symmetry, okay? So once again, axis of symmetry. You have a left side of axis of symmetry. In this point, axis of symmetry, it's at 1.5. Here, axis of symmetry, it's at 2. On reading it left to right, we always read it this way, okay? On this side, I first go down. After I hit axis of symmetry, I go up, okay? So if I do a number line and I use my axis of symmetry, here I go down, here I go up. So decreasing, increasing. It starts with negative, ends at positive. This is decrease, this is increase, okay? So what am I going to write? Decrease is from negative infinity to 2, okay? In that area, reading it on x-axis only, decrease is from negative infinity to 2, open parentheses. And then the same number, 2 to infinity, you again going from left to the right. You start with negative infinity always, end with positive, and the point in between its axis of symmetry. And that point, it's matching, okay? Now here, on this side, I am going down, and on this side, I'm going up. So having it backwards, again, 1.5, its axis of symmetry. Here I'm down, here I am up, because, oops, nope, I got it wrong. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. Here you're going up, here you're going down. Sorry about that, because you're reading it. Again, you start right here. There's a little person. So here you're going up, here you're going down. So once again, you start with negative infinity and you end with positive infinity, okay? So that means from negative infinity to 1.5, I am increasing. So negative infinity to 1.5, I am increasing. And then the same point, 1.5, I start declining to infinity. Again, you're not reading it going down, okay? You're reading it from here to the right. In this area, function is decreasing, okay? Again, you pause that if you need to write it down. Positive and negative numbers, they are always dependent on, right here, on your x-intercept. So this is at -1, and this is at 4, and this is at 1, and this is at 3. So again, positive and negative numbers are dependent on x-axis. So x-axis is right here. Whatever it's above that, the whole entire thing, it's considered positive. Whatever is below that, right here, it's considered negative. Okay? Here it's backwards. Above that, positive. Above that, positive. Below that, negative. Okay? So now again, if I'm reading it on the number line, I start with negative infinity. My points are 1 and 3, and positive infinity. Between -1 and 1, negative infinity and 1, my function is positive. After that, my function goes below. At 3, to the right, my function is positive again. And it has to be plus minus plus or minus plus minus. Now on this function right here, if I do a number line, once again, negative infinity, I got -1, I got 4, I got positive infinity. Here, the function is negative. Then it goes up between the points, and then it's negative again. So when you're writing it, again, you are going to write positive is from negative infinity right here all the way to 1, and then again from 3 to infinity. Okay, 2 places. Negative, it's only right here between these two. So negative is 1 and 3. Okay, now here it's going to be backwards. Negative is between negative infinity to -1, and then again from 4 to infinity. Positive is between these 2 points, -1 and 4, okay? So once again, this is negative, this is negative, this is positive, okay? You're always reading it on x-axis, okay? So again, hold that if you need to write it down. Now, everybody should know what x-intercepts and y-intercepts are. And then we did everything else. So this was just a little review. Everybody should know what vertex is and axis of symmetry and the dotted line in between, okay? Hope that helps.